So without further much ado, I'll introduce the panelists. We've got four of distinguished industry leaders here. First person I'd like to introduce is Luciana Martins from New Fortress Energy. Luciana Martins is an experienced supply chain professional with 18 plus years dedicated to building and maintaining a world-class supply chain organization with effective process, structure, and operational standards. With progressive experience in the global trade compliance area, supply chain operations, contract management, and performance management, Luciana is certified in logistics, transportation, and distribution, and currently the head of supply planning and controls for New Fortress Energy. Thank you, Luciana, for being here. Ashish Doda from Fluor Corporation. Ashish is the Senior Director, Supply Chain Commercial Strategies and Digitalization at Fluor. In this role, he is responsible for Fluor Corporation strategies over global procurement and contracts across all lines of businesses. Ashish has 20 years of experience in EPC space at various international locations within Fluor. Ashish has executed an array of projects with great complexity such as low sulfur, petrochemical, oil sands, GTL, mining, refining, storage, and loading projects. Thank you, Ashish. Bill Keyes, again from Fluor Corporation. Bill is an accomplished senior level supply chain professional with a proven track record and expertise in global logistics planning as well as supply chain management and material management. He is currently a logistics director at Fluor. Bill comes from a military background and retired from the US Army. As you would expect, Bill can rapidly evaluate complex problems and design trustworthy risk-assessed solutions. Thank you, Bill. Last but not least, Dharmendra Gangrade from Larsen & Toubro, more commonly referred to as L&T. So Mr. Gangrade has attained mastery in global shipping and logistics and projects with experience spread over 2 decades in diverse sectors: EPC, oil and gas, chemicals, FMCG, retail, and automotive. Presently, Dharmendra is head of Logistics Management Center for Larsen & Toubro and leads shipping and logistics function for all business verticals of the L&T at Global HQ located in Mumbai. So thank you all for coming. I'll like to start off the questions and you'll get more insight into the responses from the panelists themselves. The first question is for Dharmendra. There's a school of thought that if something is not broken, why fix it? Many leaders would say that logistics has been working for decades. Ships are sailing, planes are flying, and shipments eventually do get to their destination. So how do you communicate in a business case that now is the time for change?
Well, ships are sailing, planes are flying, trucks are running on the road, shipments are getting delivered on time, then why there is a need? Very interesting question. See what happens, the KPIs which is monitored for the deliveries is always monitored at a project level or a P&L level. So at that time, the need gets identified that why it is still getting delivered at a higher cost, or maybe a delayed one, or maybe not in full, and there are multiple KPIs on which one gets monitored. So it is that KPIs which we need to continuously look at optimizing and try to figure out, was there a better way to do it? Did we do in a most cost optimized manner, or did I use same or the less efforts or the resources to deliver the same cargo? So having said this, I think as a logistician, or as a supply chain planner or leader, I suggest that the very strong connotation one should have always in mind to deliver more from the less. So with this, you'll always you'll be always on a run to look for the cost and schedule optimization, and that creates the need. Imagine a scenario when you have a multi-project scenario, not one. See, no need can be identified if there is only one project or one business vertical or one shipment to be delivered. It is when you see the plethora of the shipments, look at the world map, canvas, multiple shipments, going all around the world, incoming, outgoing, etc. And then there is a need to achieve that cost and schedule optimization. There you can probably identify, and that's what I think the every supply chain leader has in mind probably to drive that. And there has been no better time than today, because the COVID, the pandemic has actually brought in the supply chain or the logistician to the forefront. Initially, I'm sure many of you will agree that those who have been on this role, that we were questioned more, that why it is getting delayed or why cost is getting paid more. And then later, that is in the first 6 months, and later 6 months of the pandemic, probably we were understood by the management, okay, guys, if we have a problem, they have a problem. Fine, there is a problem. So they realized there is an elephant in the room. And then the third phase, which was the next 6 months, came in, and probably that's where the even management at a broader level understood there is a need to look at restructure or reorganize or digitalize, or let's do something about the our logistics or global shipping or supply chain. So the need got created, maybe with the natural ecosystem getting built in last 2 years or so.
Thank you. I'm not sure if anybody has ever thanked you for getting stuff there on time.
We never.
So the next one is for Luciana. Organizations often only consider pure cost savings when reviewing the business case. What outcomes should be communicated over and above cost savings in a business case for implementing logistics technology?
Well, first, let's be clear that whenever you are talking about an investment, you will have to be prepared to ask or to answer questions about the cost savings that you're going to bring to the table. But it's important to bring other elements that will support the growth and sustainability of the business in the long run. It's rare for you to see a successful company. It's rare for you to see a successful company that deliver that's not somehow I'm kind of failing here, but that's not somehow leveraging technology either to differentiate their product or to enable sustainability and scalability on the long run. The technology brings visibility. The technology, it's a powerful optimization tool for you to identify opportunities and threats. And with that, you can mitigate risks or avoid risks and make the business sustainable. So at the end of the day, the business case has to cover the business case has to cover the cost savings. But in reality, if you don't count on the risk management and what that can reduce exposure to your company on the wrong one, you won't be sustainable, and that's something that you definitely need to be talking about.
Great, thank you. How do you convince your project management team to adopt and embrace new technology? Bill.
It's a challenge. We all recognize in the EPC world and project managers are kings or queens. And they focus on constructability, and they just have this large consumption for information. So the selling point for visibility is key, and you have to enable them to realize you can manage risk with this visibility. Managing risk, allowing for shifting schedules, allowing for advanced work packaging to take place. The schedule transparency, that's one of the selling points that we use with technology. You think about it, we do a lot of work in email, back and forth. That's visible just between those people in the chain. Project management can be CC'd all day long, but they don't read their email. They don't have time for email. So you have to have a platform that they can go to make decisions, and you can present information so they can make decision making, so they can balance risk. And if a shipment's delayed of a critical piece along a critical path, they can make a decision, reallocate craft, because the money's not in logistics. It's that manpower and that craft that's on site. It's that schedule that will fall by the wayside. So that is the points when I talk to the team. You know, the other thing is I point out to them, we're a global sourcing. Visibility of logistics across the globe. Single platforms allow Fluor to actually leverage our buyers and expediters and logisticians around the world, whether it be in China, New Delhi, the Philippines, South America. We have people working 24 hours a day supporting a project here in Houston, and they are managing that flow and passing off seamlessly the information. You know, email, you know, is going to go the way of the fax machine. There's some people in here, even before fax machines came along, they made contracts on the back of napkins sitting in restaurants. Then they moved to fax. Then we got this thing called email, okay? I see some laughs out there, and you know who you are. But we have to recognize technology is moving so quickly, and the flow of that information will enable decision makers at the project level to actually make intelligent decisions and not just say, where's my stuff? So.
Thank you, Bill. I'm sure we can all relate, some of us can relate to the fax machine. So, Ashish, when building a business case for introducing logistics technology into the company's technology stack, why is it important to get your CIOs and CTOs involved in the process? And most importantly, at which stage should you be doing this?
Yeah, thanks, Arun. So I think the why part is very easy because I think these guys have a lot of experience. They see a lot across functions, not just supply chain logistics. They're looking into other functions in the organization, so they know what the technology is out there, and they've seen what works, what does not work. They've been there, done that. So a lot of experience that they have, and they will be providing valuable inputs. So just for the sake of experience, you need to reach out. But we all know that you have to get the approvals from CIOs and the CTOs. So that's a must. So it's a mandatory thing. Why is kind of a given. You have to go with the organization structure and get those approvals. But I think the more pertinent question over here is what is the right timing to do it? And for that, I would say once you are prepared. And by preparedness, what I'm trying to say is, okay, you have to have the business case pretty much solid and clear in your mind what you're going to do about it. But beyond that, you need to have alignment within the function. So are all the logistics personnel in the organization looking for a solution like that? Some sort of groundwork on that has to be done. You need to understand what interfaces will change, what systems are going to be modified, that we will have to work with IT and other functions, maybe engineering, maybe construction. So those are the things that you have to have in mind. You also need to know what other solutions are out there. If you're providing a potential solution back to the IT group or the CIO, you need to know, okay, there are these many solutions. I've looked into a few of them, and here's my recommendation around it. So I think once you have that kind of a preparedness, you can reach out and maybe do it as soon as possible, because that will give you an idea on what is on the CIO's mind, what is the IT strategy for the company, where you fit into the plan, or you don't fit into the plan and you're thinking totally opposite to what the corporation is wanting to go. So having that conversation, maybe formal, informal, is pretty important as soon as possible, but make sure you're prepared. Otherwise, it's going to be like an idea that was very good and thrown away just because you didn't have a complete solution. So once I think those two things are covered, the only other piece which I think all of us are kind of used to seeing is that you have budgets and systems plans done on a yearly basis in corporations. So make sure your timing is not really off. So if like in August you do your budget planning and the IT team does their planning for the resources and the money for the next year, you just need to make sure you're not really going and presenting in September because you've missed the bus.
Right.
So I think the timing piece from a planning of the corporation's budgeting process is important, and other than that, just the preparedness.
Okay. Thank you, Ashish. What is the impact of introducing logistics technology on the broader supply chain, and how do you accrue some of the benefits in the business case? Sienna, could you share your thoughts on that?
Well, people tend to think supply chain as a decentralized structure and do not consider that efficiency depends on the trade-off between the different areas. So maximizing or minimizing the cost in one area or maximizing some elements of a service level often causes the inefficiencies in the other areas. So, for example, procurement strategy ultimately depends on logistics. The procurement goal is to buy goods. But if you're doing international sourcing, you need to bring the logistics expert to the table to understand what are the trading requirements, the shipping options, the lead times and the costs involved to really to take the right decisions. Also, if you are doing appropriate supply planning or order management, you will find out that you can streamline some part of the order to deliver cycle, and which allow you to reduce the overall lead time and maybe allow you choose a more costly reduction opportunity with a longer lead time shipping mode. So the challenge here is how to optimize the benefits and bring the optimal solution that will give you the target service level within reduce the cost. And I think that's where technology plays the effect, because when you can consolidate data and have one visibility from the end to end, so from the moment you place an order or that order is placed if you are on the sales side, till the time that the material is delivered, and having all data combined, all the data combined, you are in a better place to one way react fast, and another way to anticipate trends and have the information on hand for your business leaders to take decisions that will impact the overall revenue for the company.
Great. Thank you. So when you're building a business case for deployment of logistics technology, why is it important to ensure that there is awareness of a change management track that must happen to ensure that implementation and deployment is successful? I'd like Bill to respond to that, please.
The importance of change management is project management. It's, and you are running a project when you're implementing software into an organization. You're implementing, in Flora's case, we're building this system on top of actual moving freight. So you have to incorporate that change management up front. One of the things that we did early on is we mapped out our goals and going through those work processes. We have to keep coming back because organizations have tendencies to drift away from the set foundations. And next thing you know, instead of driving a Chevy, you have a Ferrari as a vision, but you haven't even built the Chevy yet. So playing in the sandbox was one of the things that was very critical after we mapped out those practices, making sure it worked, because the last thing, going back to what we talked about, project management does want to hear, we're having system problems. They still want cargo moved. It goes back to the simple things we all learned a long time ago. You plan your work, you do your work, you check your work, then you act on the change and managing that change. Another thing that the industry is facing is continuity. The continuity of people that started this project 2 or 3 years ago, they've moved on. And documenting that thing, what have we done, where we came from, where do we want to go? That type of documentation is critical, and that's all part of change management. And the last thing, as far as change management, I require a partnership. So I'm fortunate while we're implementing, we have a client that's willing to go through this because they see the value of it, and we have a freight forwarder. Freight forwarders have great systems out there. They just don't marry up to our system, and it's been a challenge that the industry's had for a number of years. Freight forwarders have made great investments. Coming back to a single platform to orchestrate this is part of that change and document that change so it can be implemented successfully on other projects.
Thank you. So let's talk overall process for a minute. Dharmendra, can you talk us through how you built a successful business case at L&T?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is very challenging for a function like logistics, which is more seen as within the organization as a transactional function, not the strategic one. I mean, until they get into some sort of issue, critical issue where they fix the problem and then forget it, move on, wait for the another problem. So that's a kind of a transactional approach generally any organization has towards the logistics, unlike the other side of it is like Amazons and others follow a different approach. In our project world I'm talking about. So to me, I think I developed a 3-stage strategic approach. The very first stage was believing in myself first, that is there really a need to sort of have a digitalized platform or something, building some sort of a conviction in self, because as a logistics leader, if you yourself don't believe and see the need, you need to also validate that need again and again. It could just not be your own desire to make it. It has to be organization's need. So the clear differentiation has to be there with emotionless decision that yes, there is a need. Immediately after that, in the same stage 1 is making your team believe in the need for some sort of a change or a transformation or some sort of upgrade, that kind of thing. So once the team starts getting into sync with you, probably the entire logistics as a function or supply chain as a function starts singing the same song. And the stage 2, I felt was, see, it's not that once you start believing, you just develop some white paper and some sort of a proposal, some costings here and there, put it to the management for approval. No, it will later deadlock. I mean, probably it will not see the light of another day, because what if it gets rejected instantly? And what if the good days are where management just approves on a white paper your investments? No. So I felt that the strategy number 2 was, approach was to cultivate the relations with the stakeholders who could be influencing the decision. That means the project directors, the business heads, the CFO, CTO, CIO. These are the guys who will ultimately have some influence on your decisions. So cultivating them will take about some time, but then need can be met to them to understand. See, every one of these stakeholders understand there is a problem in logistics in terms of the availability of the information, etc., etc. But then the degree of importance is not put to the same as much as you as a logistic leader will put. So collectively, when the stakeholders are done with the cultivation of this need identification, the third approach which I took was sort of developing a transformative initiative. Now it's like we're going to deliver more from less, and each stakeholder got convinced that seems to be some solution, probably which can address their problem. CTO's problem is integration with the entire tech world. What you get out of it, it is not his problem. But he needs to know SAP, Oracle, blah, blah, blah. All these systems must integrate well with any of the outside system, perfectly all right. CFO wants to have the visibility of the cost and all the time, and the per unit cost, whatever the measures. And probably the project managers are interested more to know the visibility of my cargo, where my cargo is, so on and so forth. So this kind of a transformative feeling has been developed among the stakeholders. And then there was a time wherein probably the push came from the top management itself. Can I see the white paper, please? So that's the time when you know that the business case is ready. Nobody is interested in those number of pages. I mean, you won't believe that my business case was just 3 pages. So with no PPT along attached, because everybody had already understood the need for it. The question was, how do we go about it? So they were more relying on what approach do you want to have, Dharmendra, the timeline, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, what is the stage wise, what is the rollout plan, etc. you have in mind. So suddenly the logistics become the driver for this transformative initiative, not the CTO, not the CFO, not the business head. So that's the situation to be in. It requires a lot of strategic approach actually. So I felt that has really worked well in our case. and over about 4 months a time, 4 to 5 months, we could be seen in the management's approval note that, okay, there is a proposal for logistics transformation, which includes the organization, not only the organization related transformation initiative, but also a digital platform. So 1 plus 1 became 11, and then the proposal got through.
So what I'm hearing is that a key element of any successful business case outcome is upfront stakeholder management.
More so.
Okay, thank you. I think we're quickly running out of time. Very interesting discussion, but there's one more question that I'd like to ask to Ashish. Oftentimes, IT leaders prefer to be the ones introducing new technology, and they see anything that comes from the business as being rogue projects. How do you build a business case that CIO or CTOs will find convincing when the idea or the recommended technology comes from supply chain and not IT?
So I think building on what just Dharmendra mentioned, and I know you're saying keep it short, so I will. And across the industries, I've seen there's a lot more collaboration with IT and the business functions now. IT definitely understands the world is becoming more and more digitalized, and they're not really just an operational efficiency kind of a function. They are looking into the business aspect of it more and more. So we see that change at Floor when we are developing our supply chain systems. We reach out to our IT organization and tell them that these are the things that we need in supply chain and logistics. And sometimes even IT comes in and says, okay, here are some of the vendors out there with some solutions you may want to look into. So it's a little bit more collaborative, I would say, than you may imagine. And I'm sure IT does the same with other functions, with engineering, construction, and so on. So there's a lot of collaboration that I see. But at the same time, the CIOs and CTOs, they're like very sharp business-minded people. They are not just looking at it as whose idea is it, but they're looking into are we following the governance process that IT has? Because that's something that they don't want you to bypass.
Right.
So if you understand at the working level, manage the stakeholders on what does IT need for this to really happen or for them to approve, I think that initial groundwork is very important. And after that, I think it's about presenting to the CIO and then them realizing that, okay, what's the problem we're trying to solve? How are we going to solve it? How robust is the solution? And are we following the governance process? If we check those 3 boxes, I think that's an easy sell.
Okay. It still comes down to stakeholder management, right? Yeah.
Pretty much.
Key part of it. So. Okay, thank you. That's all the questions that I've got, but can we pass the mic to the gentleman if we have that?
I don't know that I need one in the interest of time. My name is Ken Long. I've been in the project forwarding business for 45 plus years. I now have my own consulting firm, Capital Project Logistics Consulting. I have a question for all of you, but in particular to Bill, because Bill's the only one that mentioned this, and that is advanced work package planning. My question is, and if for those of you who don't know about advanced work package planning or the importance of it to a project, it has been accepted as a best practice and it is said that it can save up to 10% on a total capital project cost. Fluor has embraced this fully on the LNG project in Canada. My question, Bill, is do you think that project forwarders understand what advanced work packaging is in the first place and the importance of adopting a workforce planning approach to logistics and to their systems? Thank you.
Thank Ken.
You're putting Bill on the spot here.
That's good. So I think freight forwarders, and I'll probably disagree with you, okay? So do freight forwarders need to understand advanced work packaging planning? Certainly do, okay? But it's my role as a logistics professional to educate them, hey, this is our business, and this goes back to mapping out those processes. I think we get in a hurry. We are always behind in logistics. We're always at the end of the chain, and the forwarders are focused on moving cargo. That's what we pay them to do. in order for the industry to progress, that's something I think we all, forwarders as well as EPCs and suppliers need to think about that. But it even goes further back into the supply chain, like Louisiana, that supply planning and getting that materials packed and understanding that and I think if we take the time to educate our forwarders on advanced work packaging, they can actually bring more savings to us by the consolidation of materials when you look at the different supply bases. We're bringing a lot of stuff out of India right now for one of the projects we're working on. There is opportunities for consolidation, okay? But, individual project managers and engineers like, hey, I need this piece instead of working the package. So yes, I think it just needs something that in the future that I think we just need to educate ourselves. And it starts with myself educating my provider, and this is why it's important, this is what it actually means.
Thank you. Any more questions? Please.
Gracias. Gracias. Good morning. My name is Francisco Vides. I work in a sugar mill. So the thing is that we are trying to implement a technology for the logistics in our operations. So what I heard was that all of the projects that you implemented were very successful, but I would like to hear the ones that were not so successful and which were the lessons learned for you to be successful in the next project that you implemented. I think for the two gentlemen on the corners, I would gladly hear that. Thank you.
Maybe in the interest of time, I can discuss with you separately because we've got a next event lined up. I'll talk to you
Yeah.
on that topic here.
On that same note, please come over to the Shippers Lounge, just right around at the end. Happy to continue that discussion over there.
Yeah. So
Thank
Francisco,
you.
we'll continue, but one line answer for the rest of the audience is like if your work process is not sorted out, you're pretty much sure of not having a good implementation.
Yeah.
Whichever project you're working on, you need to make sure your work process is in line with the systems that you're going to implement. If those things are not aligned, you're going to have a failure.
Okay, I've been very unceremoniously told that, okay, I'm out of time, so we're going to stop there. And thank you all for coming. Look forward to seeing you in the Shippers Lounge to talk about logistics technology. Thank you.